Hello, everybody. My name is Jonathan Gant. This is Nick Conklin. We're from the Clemson University Athletic Department. Proud Adobe customers at Clemson University. Asked to speak here today about two topics that really go hand in hand: social media video strategy and content velocity. So the goal of today's session is that we're going to talk about the why and the how of what we do at Clemson, and hopefully there are elements that you can take back to your work, your organization, your teams. It's going to help you. For a little context, our digital transformation started about 2.5 years ago. We had a modest social media presence at best. It really was not a priority for our athletic department, but that changed when our new athletic director, Dan Radakovich, got hired. It was a priority for him. He wanted us to really focus on telling our own story, showcasing our student athletes, our coaches, the programs that we had, and really trying to connect directly with the audience that we were trying to reach. So we had a very clear vision, a focused strategy, and it's made a huge impact, as you can see, just in 2.5 years. 1.4 million new fans and followers in less than 30 months, 27 million video views across social platforms in 2015 alone. As you can see from the headline, Fox Sports claimed that we won the internet, so that was pretty exciting. Didn't even know you could do that. But more importantly, we've had success on the field. We have two teams make it to the national championship, our football team, our men's soccer program. So we've had success on the field, and we have record fundraising numbers. So being able to really have an impact, that's been a really exciting thing for us to see develop. So again, my name is Jonathan Gant. I've been at Clemson for about 2.5 years. I serve as the creative director, and I also help set digital strategy. That means I get to work with a lot of really great, talented people like Nick.
So I'm Nick Conklin. I'm the coordinator of digital content, former men's soccer student athlete at Long Island University in the great borough of Brooklyn, New York. And I've been at Clemson for about 2 years now. Before we kind of hit the ground running, talking about social video, content velocity, we're going to show you a quick example that one of our students created.
I feel like Clemson's taking a gamble on you in some regards just because of your lack of head coaching or even coordinator experience.
No.
So that was a 15-second video that we posted on Instagram. It was produced entirely by an undergraduate student named Kevin Collins, and we think that's one of the best illustrations of what we tell our staff and our students all the time, of how can you tell the best story possible in the most concise package possible. And so Kevin did a really great job there. Obviously, Coach Sweeney's had an incredible story. At his opening press conference in 2008, he showed confidence, and it's clear why. He's had a lot of success. But Kevin was able to, if he had made a 90-minute documentary about Coach Sweeney, I don't think it would have gotten the point across as good as that 15-second video did. So that brings us to the question of why social media? Why should you focus on it? Why would it be important to your organization? And obviously, there's a lot of different answers to that. For our answer at Clemson Athletics, it goes back to our target audiences. So you can see right up here, we've got recruits, student athletes, fans, and potential fans. Those are the four groups that we're really trying to reach. And the lifeblood of the athletic department is recruiting. If we can bring the best people, the most talented student athletes to Clemson to play for us, that means we're going to have the best chance of winning more games, selling more tickets, and providing the best possible college experience to everybody in the Clemson family. So if recruits are our target audience and our biggest priority, well, where do they get their information? Where do they get entertainment? How do they communicate with their friends and family? And the answer, at least right now, is social media. So if recruits are the most important to us, and that's where they are, that's where we need to be. So we hear our coaches all the time say, well, if we can just get them to campus, they'll see why this place is special. They'll really connect with the people. They'll feel it. They'll love it. But it's hard to get somebody to come to campus. You know, you guys know you made the trek here to Las Vegas. It's not easy. And so we need to take campus to them through social media, through content. That means graphics, videos, articles, blogs, whatever it might be. We need to showcase our programs and take campus to them. We want to help answer the question, what is it like to be a Clemson Tiger? The tricky part is all these teenagers are following a lot of different accounts. There's a lot of noise in their social feeds. So how do we stand out? How do we make Clemson successful in that? So we need to differentiate ourselves. And we kind of view ourselves like advertisers in the 1940s, TV advertisers. You know, it was a brand new format that there was no template for it. There was no protocol. So we need to really focus in on how can we create video content that's really suited, really tailored to that user experience on social media.
So I'm sure some of my fellow videographers have gotten an email at some point or at some point or another that said, hey, can I get a quick 5-minute video? There's no such thing as a quick 5-minute video. If you take that for face value, you get our first example here in the workout from 2012. Pay particular attention to the camera movement and the editing of this video. Very static, very stationary, all right? And then we're going to show you an example that we filmed this winter, 2016 example that we just post directly to social.
Yeah. I don't never feel pain, cause I done felt too much pain. Money gun in the brain, blood flowing through my veins.
So much more dynamic, much more deliberate. That's through composition, execution. And the second example, the first example is more camera mounted on a tripod, maybe zooming in and out a little bit. This example, you got 15 seconds to get your point across. You've got primary, secondary, tertiary movement to create this product that's a lot more dynamic. Again, deliberate in the execution. And so the goal becomes, when I get that email about, hey, can I get a quick 5-minute video? Our strength coach wants to show the workouts. Our recruits would like to see the workouts too, because if they come to Clemson, they're going to love seeing themselves on social accounts. And so it's identifying what the end product should be and how that delivers to the needs of our coaches and our recruits. So recruits don't want to see a guy squatting for 5 minutes. We get it. Give me 15 seconds of them working on and move on to the next thing.
Yeah, so obviously there's a very big difference in the production of it, but if you stop there, if Nick and his team make this unbelievably engaging video that's really well produced, but we don't deliver it in the right way for social media, then nobody's going to see it. So the next step is distribution. And we're all familiar with the traditional model of needing to drive traffic back to your own platforms, back to your own website, which makes a lot of sense. You got to drive revenue with advertising, but it simply is not the best user experience on social media. So again, we'll compare two examples, something that Clemson Athletics was doing in 2013, and imagine that you are actually on your Twitter feed right now, and you just clicked that link. You got excited by the copy, and maybe you wanted to watch the video, and you're actually going through the process of trying to watch this video. And we're doing this for effect. We actually want everybody to feel how painful this experience is. And clearly it's very painful. You have to click the link. You get a 30-second ad that plays.
Dream fearlessly. Go to amfam.com/get to the game to see more.
The video buffers. There's another ad. Now this is an extreme example. I'm sure that we've fine-tuned over the last couple of years this model, but at the same time, it's still painful. That's
I'm
over
Tim
a
Murray
minute.
for ClemsonTigers.com, and with me is Clemson head coach.
That's over 60 seconds that the user had to wait until they actually saw the first second of video. They're never going to watch it. They're never going to wait that long. So you contrast that with how we're approaching it now, and instead of forcing people to disrupting that experience of being on Facebook or Twitter or whatever it might be, making them leave that app, come to our website, waiting for pages to load, we're bringing that content right to them on those social platforms. So here's an example from 2015 where you're scrolling through your Twitter feed. This video auto plays. It's got the dynamic element on the left with this great wide shot. It's got all the information that you need on the right. And the important thing to understand here is that both of these videos, the goal was exactly the same. We wanted to drive attendance, ticket sales for a home soccer game. But one is designed specifically for social, gets to the point really, really quickly, gets the user the information that they need, and moves on. Because the thing is nobody's going to go through that painful experience that we just went through. So you got to get production right, you got to get distribution right. The next part is personnel. So who is doing this? How are they doing it? For us, it's a matter of trying to look at our existing staff, and rather than just hiring, a social media team, how can we incorporate everybody who's already doing a lot of work on the production side, media side, public relations side, and bring them into our social media operations? So every full-time staff at Clemson Athletics, we've tried to find ways for them to contribute to what we're doing. The other thing that's really special for us is we have a great partnership with Adobe. We have an enterprise-level agreement at Clemson where every student, faculty, and staff member at Clemson has access to the Creative Cloud. That's been a tremendous opportunity for us to go from a small group of really highly specialized, skilled people to now we've got this whole group of untapped potential who now have these same set of first-class tools. One example sitting in the front row today This young man by the name of Carl Danoff. Carl, can you stand up for a second? Take a little bow. So Carl's a student at Clemson. He didn't know I was going to do that. So he's a student at Clemson, and he's a great example. He didn't have a ton of video editing experience before he got here, but now he's actually here for Adobe producing content, producing video content. If you check out the Adobe social channels on Twitter, you can see a video he produced yesterday. And he's a great example of not necessarily somebody who's dedicated to videography, but someone who's able to handle that, and with the tools, with the resources and the guidance, is able to contribute in a very meaningful way.
Yeah, so our students are unique in that they come from a variety of disciplinaries across campus. There is no video production major, there is no film school at Clemson, and so we've got engineering students working together with communication study students, with parks, recreation, and tourism management students, and a lot of this starts out as a hobby for these guys. And so when they come to us, you know, they're all a variety of different creatives, and they're studying different things. And so where they come together as creatives is with their familiarity with the Adobe products. And to take that a step further, you see our brand standards, some of the examples of brand standards listed there. So how do you take these different creatives and bring them together as one to create a product for the Clemson Tigers? Well, we've got color palettes, we've got fonts, we've got logos and other specs that they need to adhere to, and we utilize that through the Creative Cloud libraries where they've got their watermarks, they've got the PAW logo, other word marks, all their brand fonts, and all the color palettes, so that when they create a project themselves, they put those brand elements on it, and while they stay within the consistency of the Clemson Tigers brand, we still enable them to bring their own creativity to the production.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's an example of, this is the most recent example. This is our latest football for Clemson, video for Clemson football. It's a uniform reveal. One of our students, Kevin Collins, he graduates in May. He's a communication studies student. He brought his own creativity to this project while adhering to our brand standards. Took 90% of the work. He acted as a videographer and lead editor for this project.
And Clemson has indeed proved itself.
A collection of materials that embody spirit, pageantry, and integrity. That's what uniforms always have been.
And Clemson wins the national championship of college football.
That's what they will always be. People are always afraid of change, and when it comes to uniforms, they're no different. But who says you can't go back?
The number one team in all of college football.
Who says you can't recreate history? The great thing is at Clemson, you don't have to start over to achieve greatness.
Tradition does it for you.
A student did 90% of the work on that video, all the post-production, which is just incredible. Now, was he doing that on day one? Not necessarily, but he had a ton of desire, a ton of enthusiasm and passion, and he did have some skill. And so with Nick's guidance, but also with the Creative Cloud being available to him so that he can use all those tools of Premiere Pro, After Effects, it means that students can really contribute in a meaningful way. Like I said, that video generated more than 250,000 views in less than 72 hours. And my favorite part about it as a marketer is that the uniform really didn't change that much. But that video makes it seem like this big, giant change, and it was featured on Yahoo, ESPN, Sports Illustrated, it was all over the place, but really, there was nothing really newsworthy about it, and then it turned into 250,000 views. So a great example of student work. So that's one part about it is personnel, but also the next question is equipment.
So when we talk about brand standards, we're not only talking about the graphic overlays that we put on these videos, we're also talking about equipment. That last football video was shot completely on a Sony a7S II. Some elements were shot in 4K, others in 1080. And we primarily shoot with DSLR and mirrorless cameras for two main reasons. Their efficiency, their affordability, but they also look really good. But as of recent, we've made a more workflow-oriented approach towards mobile.
Yeah, so speaking of looking really good, Nick looks like James Bond up there. He's got the really cool picture with the Rona and the DSLR, and then compare that to the much nerdier person on the left. But the point is that with that Steadicam gimbal for a mobile device, I'm able to raise the production value from a shaky cell phone camera to something that looks really smooth and professional that looks like we've got higher-end equipment. The other thing is when using a mobile device, the example here is I was at the national championship game, and so I started out in the locker room. I followed our star running back all the way out onto the field, Wayne Gallman, and I'm able to peel off to the side once he gets to the field. So I've got this really professional, great-looking shot, really unique access, exclusive, something that's really added value for the viewer. And then I'm able to step to the side, do some basic editing, and publish that video all before the coin toss. So if you're a Clemson fan or a Clemson recruit and you're watching the game on TV, but you're also following along on your second screen, the game hasn't even started yet, and you get to feel like you ran out onto the field with the team. So again, we're trying to do more and more with these powerful devices that everybody has. And again, going back to, we have our dedicated group of videographers, but how can we get more contributors to have a better presence on social? Well, everybody's got a mobile device, and everybody knows for the most part how to use those. It's a little intimidating sometimes to step into these cameras that you see around the floor here, but anybody can really use mobile editing, mobile capture. So the example from the national championship game is a great way to transition to the second topic of content velocity, especially as it revolves around event coverage. It's not going to work for us to capture a bunch of stuff and then put it out the next day or a couple days later. We got to turn stuff around really quickly in order to capitalize on the moment and to deliver content when people actually care about it. So the way we approach event coverage is that there's already broadcasts of most of our sports, certainly the ones like football and men's basketball. So we don't want to reproduce what the broadcast is doing, but we want to supplement it. We want to bring value to that second screen experience. Sometimes people are using it as a primary screen to where we're not worried about capturing the 60-yard touchdown pass and catch so much as we are worried about turning our back to the field and showing the crowd going nuts after that 60-yard touchdown pass. So we feel like that's where we can bring value. We can show context, atmosphere, and emotion. I don't think there's probably a better example of that than our most exciting 25-second series that we did this year.
Yeah, so we took our show on the road for every game last football season. Obviously, Syracuse was no different, but where it was different is it was our first implementation of Adobe Anywhere. And just to give you a quick background of that, Sebastian, who's in the crowd out here, he came to Clemson, gave us a 2-day rundown on how to use Adobe Anywhere. My colleague Jeff Callan and I, this was on Thursday, we learned the specs on how to run Adobe Anywhere on Thursday. On Friday, our student videographer and Jonathan were going up to the team to Syracuse. And so we brought Max in before the team flew out. We gave him a quick rundown about how to use Adobe Anywhere, and we were able to implement it on Saturday. Now, what that meant is that Jeff and I were back in Clemson, South Carolina. We were both logged on to the production. He was doing graphics. I was doing the editing. Max was up in Syracuse with Jonathan. Jonathan was posting everything to mobile. Max was capturing content in Syracuse. After he captured the content, he would run over to his computer, plug his SD card in. He would log the clips in Prelude, send them to me instantaneously, 850 miles away in Clemson, South Carolina. I would get them like that. I'd edit something together. I'd send it back up to Jonathan, another 850 miles back up to Syracuse, New York. The entire operation ran 1,700 miles round trip to get a video product out in 20 to 30 minutes, just to go 5 feet.
It's all good, baby. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack, Mr. Magic Marley Marl. I let my tape rock till my tape pop.
I think I saw a few people stop and start dancing.
Yeah.
Biggie gets more people over to the presentation. That was such a great example of there was only 6 shots from the actual game in that video, and only 3 of them actually showed game action. The rest was context, the team arriving, the emotion, like I said, the atmosphere of the event. So that's what we really focus on. And then going back to designing for social and thinking about our target audience, each of those shots was only 1 second in duration. And so we're giving the viewers something that's aesthetically pleasing, that they have enough time to acknowledge and see what's going on. And by the time they do that, we're on to the next thing. So we're stimulating them. These videos had the highest retention rates of probably anything we did last year, because it keeps them stimulated throughout that entire 30 seconds. So again, really trying to design for that social media experience, getting people's attention and keeping their attention. So the other great thing about event coverage is that there's a lot that you can plan on. Obviously, you never know when somebody's going to make an amazing play. That sort of stuff can happen, but there's a lot that you can plan on. You know the team's going to arrive. You know that there's going to be warm-ups. You know that there's going to be into the first quarter, into the second quarter. So for those thinking of content velocity and turning things around quickly, for the things that we can plan on, we need to really over-prepare for that so that we can move really, really quickly. So we've developed what we call a content menu, where we know all the things that are going to happen that we can plan for, so that allows us the flexibility to respond to the spontaneous moments that happen. One example of that something that really started an industry trend, in college athletics at least, was score vines.
Yeah, so score vines were pretty interesting. The week of the Notre Dame game, it was the third week of the season. There was a lot of buzz around campus because ESPN College Game Day decided that they were going to come down to Clemson. And Vine had been following us over the course of the season, and they said, hey, we want to give you guys a featured channel on Vine. And we were like, that's awesome. So we got this new worldwide exposure with a featured Vine channel. And so we sat down the week before the game and said, hey, how can we capitalize on this new exposure that we're going to have? We already put out infographics at the end of each quarter. How can we take that to the next level? So the idea to take that to the next level was to come up with the Score Vine, which is a video overlaid with a graphic that we used in the Creative Cloud libraries. And not just that, it was finding a dynamic shot that showed the context of the day. It was pouring rain at the Notre Dame game, obviously, so we want to show that context. But the other thing, too, to highlight here is that getting these vines out quickly and efficiently is key. And we usually export it at least 3 different versions, because when there's 2 minutes left in the quarter, is the opposing team in a scoring position? Is our team in a scoring position? So there were usually 3 different videos that were posted with at least 3 different score changes just to prepare for it.
And if we don't have this content out quickly enough, it becomes irrelevant once that fourth quarter starts. So we've got to have it ready to go at the moment that whistle blows. So again, it's showing that emotion. It's showing something beyond just what's happening on the field. And at the end of the third quarter, there's a lot of different accounts, media, sometimes fans that are posting the score. And sometimes it's text. Like Nick said, we used to do static graphics. There's a lot of people who are doing that. So how do we do something that stands out from that captures people? That is a really powerful image, obviously. It's got all the information that they need, and there's a caption there with it that can give additional value. But the shot is something that's actually going to get your attention on social media. Really fun story about this. This kid's name is Jeff, and he's actually our mic man. So he leads our student section and all their different chants and cheers throughout the game. So Nick uploads this. I post it as soon as the whistle blows at the end of the third quarter, and then I make my way back out to the field so that I can capture content. And as I'm walking out past our bench, I walk past Jeff, and I pull up my phone, and I show him this video. And so he gets to see a tweet with this score vine that's been shared hundreds of times already, sees himself, it looks like he's in the middle of a movie, the hero shot with the rain falling down. And I just imagine the look on his face. It was just like wonder and astonishment and excitement all at once. It was a really special moment. And all of that happened before the fourth quarter even started. So again, we've got to move really, really quickly, and these are examples of things that we can prepare for so that we can move quickly. Another example is the team arrival video.
Yeah, so the team arrival video was always my favorite to work with for 2 main reasons. One, I love seeing Dabo lead the team off the bus, and the guys always came dressed to the nines in their suits and their ties, and they look sharp. And then the other challenge was getting this information out quickly, getting this video out quickly, right? So we've got fans that are tailgating in the lot outside the game, and then we've got fans that aren't even at the game. And part of what we do, obviously, is tell the story of the game. So with this, the team arrival, they usually arrived about 90 minutes prior to the game. At a certain point, if we don't get this video out quickly, it's irrelevant. You know, we're sending this video out to our fans. If the game starts at 3 o'clock and we wouldn't post it at 2:45, because at that point, you know, the mentality is, why is the team arriving 15 minutes before the game starts, right? And so we need to get it out quickly. This was always done within 20 to 30 minutes, but it was nice to have that added pressure after we got this great footage to always cut that together, get it out as quickly as possible. Obviously, being deliberate in the shot selection, too, as you'll see. I mean, it's not just about going out there and capturing footage of the team arriving. how do you capture the footage of the team arriving? How do you make them appear in the video? How do you choose your shots in the editing process?
Alright, no lies, aim for the top, keep my eyes to the sky. I think I'm gonna try till I die. I'm really gonna work through the night.
So we had this vision, we had this strategy, but what really accelerated this, we felt like it was going to be probably at least a 36-month process to get from having very little, like I said, a modest social media presence to the one that we desired. And what really sped that up was our partnership with Adobe, because like I said, it allowed a whole new group of contributors. All of a sudden we had, a small army of people contributing when we used to have just a few. And then the people who are working now we're able to collaborate better through Creative Sync and using libraries and that sort of thing. So it's really helped speed up our process. The recognition has been pretty amazing. Seeing Clemson mentioned with these other kind of names up here, the Carolina Panthers, the NBA, the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team, that's really, really good company to be in. And so it's great for us to see Clemson listed among them. But again, it goes back to what are we really doing this for? How are we trying to drive value for our athletic department? And it goes back to recruiting. So we'll finish up with a quick story about one of our recruits who's actually now playing for Clemson football. His name's Rashawn Smith. He was a blue chip prospect. He had offers from Alabama, Ohio State, everywhere. And he was interested in Clemson. He actually came to visit when we played Florida State this past fall. And after the game, Nick and I and our whole crew were working feverishly into the night, usually at least a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours after the game. And so we're walking back to our cars in the parking lot, and I get a phone call from a number I don't recognize. I say hello, and he said, "Hey, is this Jonathan?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Hey, this is Rashawn Smith." And so I'd never met him before, but I had heard the name, obviously. And he said, "Hey, I just wanted to tell you, you guys are doing a great job on social media." I just couldn't help but laugh. First of all, because he's a 17-year-old kid and was nice enough to make a phone call like that, which is pretty incredible. It speaks a lot to his character. But number two, it's such a great illustration, such a great story of how what we're trying to do is impacting the recruiting process. Now, he didn't make his decision based on the videos that Nick and his team are making, at least I hope he didn't, but it did play a role in his recruiting, and it helped Clemson stand out, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So Adobe's helped us get there. It's helped a lot of students get opportunities that they wouldn't have had otherwise. Speaking of students, we want to make sure we're going to be over here on the right side of the stage, or left side of the stage, for a few minutes after the presentation. We have a lot of really talented undergraduate students. If you're looking for people who are creative generalists, Carl's here. There's a lot of really talented people there that we love seeing students get opportunities. They're already starting to get some really amazing jobs. So appreciate the opportunity to be here. Happy to discuss any of this stuff afterwards. So thank you, and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.